This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to not just another Farming Simulator 22 map first impressions video, but video number 750. That's correct. Since Farming Simulator 17, we have now produced 750 map first impression video tours, and it would not be without supporters like William Chapman and Big Joe Mammoth. Thank you all for being farm barons. And if you want to be your own farm baron of the channel, you can check the join button down below the video. Now, the Glenleathann map can be found over the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu. And as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Now, let's go over a little bit of the description. The first part of the description gives you a little bit of a background as to kind of a story as to why you're here on the map. You grew up in the area, you helped out a friend with their farm, you've moved off to the city, you've had some kids, you've decided the country life is better than city life, and now you have moved back and you're looking for your own farm to help out on. This map includes several features, including Alien Jim's cuttable hedges. And in fact, if you wish to cut down all of the cuttable hedges and just completely get rid of the hedges between the fields, you can do so by also cutting down a spotlight at the main shop. In addition to that, this map includes Alien Jim's right-hand drive cars. All base game productions have been spread out across the map. The map also is precision farming ready with a custom soil map. There are forests also scattered around the map, and you can sell platinum expansion production items if you put those down. This map includes 108 fields of all shapes and sizes, 5 farms scattered around the map if you're looking to kind of spread out or play in multiplayer. In fact, I think this would be a perfect map for multiplayer. Lots of various paint options are going to be found in the terrain paint tool. Modified animal pens can also be found in the build mode. AI spline, so AI will drive on the main dirt roads. This map also includes Disturb Simulations Scottish Geo, as well as his Scottish weather. A minimum of 3 days per month is recommended if you are going to play with the seasonal calendar enabled. This map also includes Disturb Simulations mission vehicles, new custom lighting, and cotton and sugarcane have been prohibited from being grown by NPC players, but you will be able to plant and harvest that yourself. Now, as far as mods go, we are going to be using mods we typically use when we take a look at maps. They are additional field info, additional game settings, field lease, field calculator, and precision farming. Now, while we are loading this map up in new farmer mode, if you start this map up in farm manager mode or start from scratch, you will find that the main farm is completely void of buildings and machinery. In fact, all of those farms are completely void of buildings in farm manager or start from scratch. But again, we are here in new farmer mode. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA. And one of the first things you're going to notice is this map is full of irregularly shaped fields. As the description said, 108 fields in all. This map does include all of the standard crop types available to us in Farm Sim 22. And if we take a look at our lands area, you'll see we start out by owning farmland ID number 2. That is going to be the main farm, $169,248, 6.97 acres in size. In addition to that, we own farmland ID 4, 5, 9, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Those are all fields. Now, as far as other farms go, we have farmland ID 35. That can be bought for $117,000, and it is going to include cows and chickens. We have farmland ID 120. It's going to be $215,000. It's going to include pigs, cows, horses, and chickens. Then we have farmland ID 55. That can be bought for $202,000. It's going to include sheep, horse, cows, pigs, and chickens. And then we round it out with farmland ID 83. That is going to be able to bought for $202,000 as well. And that is going to support cows, sheep, and chickens. Exactly how it is built out here in new farmer mode. In addition to that, we do have a BGA, which is below farmland ID 40. You will need to buy the BGA when you drive up to it. You're not going to be able to buy it by selecting the buy land here on the land screen. Now, one other thing to note, the main shop, which is farmland ID 134, if you wish to cut down the spotlight post that is going to get rid of all of the cuttable hedges. You will need to own the shop land, and you're going to be able to do that for $31,000. Let's go ahead and take a look at our farmland lease screen. The farmland lease screen is going to show us all of the buyable farmlands, how large those farmlands are, if those farmlands include any fields, which fields are included, and ultimately how much is that farmland going to cost us. As you see overall, I believe that this map is using the standard pricing for farmlands per hectare. Most of these are going to be in the couple $100,000 range. But overall, I don't feel that these prices are overly kind of high. I think they're pretty average. In addition to that, let's go ahead and take a look at our field calculator screen. This is going to show us specifically the sizes of each particular field. Then we can go back and cross-reference the field number with the farmland lease number, and then see how much it's going to cost you to buy any one particular field. Let's go ahead and take a look at our custom soil map. As you can see, the soil types are pretty scattered all over the place. We have pretty much all of the soil types. We have loamy sand, just a little bit of that, sandy loam, and silty clay. Take a look at our crop counter. We do indeed have a custom crop counter, as the description said here on the map. And if we take a look at our prices screen, we do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game crops that are available to us in Farm Sim 22. In addition, we have the ability to sell our eggs, wool, and milk, as well as our silage, hay, straw, and grass. And then with respect to the base game production items, as the description said, once again, we can indeed sell all of the base game production items as well. We do have an area to buy bulk lime. We also have a stone crusher pre-placed, so if we are playing with stones enabled, we will be able to process those. And then you will see that we also have the ability to sell all of the platinum expansion production items as well. And then lastly, if you are playing with pumps and hoses, we do also have the ability to sell our separated manure. Taking a look at our starting fleet. The starting fleet is a combination of brand new vehicles and vehicles that have a decent amount of hours on them. Most of these vehicles are fairly well maintained, but some of them are a little low on the maintenance scale. So if you are looking to clear house, you may want to do some repairs on some of these things before you go and sell them. But overall, we start with a quite substantial fleet of starting machinery. We do have sheep, cows, and horses at the main starting farm, but we do not have any of the animals actually at the start. We do have contracts available, and we do not own any production chains once we start here in New Farmer mode. This map also includes the 20 game cartridges that are available on Holt Battleroon. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting fleet. We start out with the Massey Ferguson 6S180, as well as the Fendt Vario 314 small tractor. We then move up to John Deere 6250R medium tractor. Then we have the John Deere T560 harvester. That is paired up with the 625X grain header, as well as the 608C corn header. We do have then the Nardi 40BX header trailer as well. We have a TA 23071 Power Push Plus trailer. We have our 2017 pickup truck. We do have the Scorpio 550 stone picker. We have the Speedmax 560 mulcher, as well as the Karat 12500 KUA cultivator. We have the DC 401 subsoiler, as well as the Potager TerraSim C6F seeder. We have the Optima RS planter, as well as the Dalbo Power Roll 1230 HD roller. We have the Hardy Mega 1200L and 1200L fertilizer and herbicide spray tanks. We have the Breedal K105 lime and solid fertilizer spreader. We have a weeder with the Enbrock 900 model there. We have then for grass care, this roller, which is only going to be for rolling on grass. Okay, don't mix up the other roller with this one. This is the Max Roll 630 green line. We have the GMD 8330FF butterfly mower, as well as the GMD 3125F front mower. We have the Fanex 904 tedder, as well as the Samez Z2 840H windrower. We have a Rapide 580V forage wagon, as well as the Massey Ferguson RB 4160V Pro Tech round baler. Now, this particular round baler we recently got in a content update. We also have the Anderson R&B 2000 bale loading trailer. We have the Q6M front loader arms. For the front loader arms, we have a bale spike. We also have the low loader in the Transport Wagon TP500S. And then we round it all out with a pair of weights in 1,000 kilogram and 750 kilograms. As far as mods and vehicles go, this map does not include any custom vehicles or machinery. I'm just going to quickly tab over here to the main starting farm. Remember, the main starting farm is over to the west. It includes fields 25, 26, 30, 31, 33, 34, and 32. Now, we'll tell you that everything on all the farms ultimately can be sold. But there's one little caveat, and that is down at the farmland ID 55. There are two buildings that when I was doing my testing and when I purchased farmland ID 55, I was not able to actually sell those buildings. So there's two buildings down here, farmland ID 55, that I couldn't sell when I bought the land. But later, I bought all of the farmland, and I was able to sell those two buildings. When we get around to our fly around, I'm going to show you which two buildings I couldn't buy. I'm going to demonstrate, hopefully, that I couldn't sell those with owning 55. And then, for the heck of it, I'm going to buy all the farmlands. I'm going to demonstrate that I can sell those. So I think those two buildings are somewhat not properly associated with the farmland that they're sitting on. Let's start our tour over here at the farmhouse. So we have the Holt Betheroon farmhouse. We do have our sleep trigger here at the front door. In fact, all of the farms have the same farmhouse. It would have been nice to have seen some different farmhouses scattered around as opposed to all the farmhouses having all five, but that's okay. We've got our wardrobe trigger here in the garage, as well as our pickup truck. Got some of our grass care equipment around the side of the farmhouse. Don't miss our front loader arms and bale fork there in that little cubby. So we have our base game sheep area. We have our wool point. We have our weights. We have our food trough. Then we have our drop-off point. We're going to put 2,000 sheep in this pen. Clearly, it's modeled after the base game area, but it's been tweaked just a little bit. Now over here we have our cow pen with feeding robot. We also have a manure over there, manure heap. We have our slurry point. We have our food trough inside of here if we wish to feed our cows manually. And this particular facility is going to also hold 2,000 cows. Then we have our milk trigger. We have a storage silo for seed or mineral feed that is currently empty. Then we have our main farm silo. We have our dump and fill points. As I mentioned, we also have a manure heap. We have a diesel storage tank as well as a bale and pallet storage building. We have a storage silo for liquid fertilizer as well as solid fertilizer. Those are both empty. We have a 3-sided silage bunker. And then we have our chicken area. Our horse pasture. 16 horses are going to go in this facility. And then we have our water trough and our food trough there for our horses. Now, as mentioned, this map does have cuttable hedges. So if you come over here with a chainsaw, we're going to find our fence post. And if we cut down our fence post, then the hedge on either side of that fence post is going to go away. So you could kind of enlarge your entrances to these fields if you wanted. But as I said, over at the shop, and we're going to get back over to the shop here in a little bit, we do have the ability to get rid of all of the hedges. And we're going to do that because between the fly around and the drive around portions of this video, we're going to get rid of the hedges so you can kind of get an idea of how this map is going to look in either way. And that is pretty much the main starting farm here. Now, as I mentioned, you can sell all of the buildings here on the starting farm. Also, with respect to buildings where appropriate are using the new texturing technique as well as ground textures, the custom buildings are not. Okay, so we're not going to give the map a full point with respect to building textures using the new texturing technique. All of these buildings that have kind of this green siding, they all go back a little bit of ways. They're all using kind of an older, flatter texturing, especially this building over here that has a floor to it. Right, we've got some older textures to the floors and to the walls. Let's go ahead and take a look at build mode while we're here. We do have several buildings. In fact, all of the buildings that you're going to find scattered around the map can be put down using build mode. We've got our bale pallet storage. We have our modified silos. We have some modified extensions here, as well as a buyable lime station. As far as production goes, we've got all of our standard production items going on here. Then these are the productions that are pre-placed. They are, in essence, the same as the base game productions. Got our normal sell points, greenhouses, orchards, and generators. And then we have modified animal pens. So we've got the small cow pasture for 1,000, the large cow pasture barn, and then the barn with feeding robot set at 2,000. We've got the horse pasture set at 16 versus 5 for the standard one. Then for our pigs, we've got 2,000 pigs or 1,000 pigs. And then for our sheep, we have 2,000 sheep pen. Our chickens, we have 1,000 or 2,000 chickens. Standard bees, and of course standard dogs. Dogs are always standard. We do have the ability to place hedges. Now these hedges are going to be placed in segments, so they're not like drawing hedges like we might have normally with the game. And then we have the ability to place stone walls, once again in segments like that. As far as lighting goes, we have all just standard lighting. And then for our painting ground textures, you see we have quite the listing of paintable ground textures. I think we're going to go ahead and just kind of make use of this here. Let's get rid of that real quick. So we've got asphalt. We have gravel. Animal mud. Another form of animal mud. Another form of asphalt. Dirt. We have asphalt, which is really kind of like cobblestone. Then we have concrete. We have more concrete. Stamped concrete, if you will. More concrete that looks an awful lot like dirt, but okay. We have forest ground. Grass. More grass, kind of a drier looking grass. Even more drier looking grass. And we have gravels. Gravel galore. Right, gravel with more dust. Gravel with dust and moss or grass. Gravel with more grass area. Then we have rock. Granite. And as far as our trees go, fairly standard assortment of trees. And then our bushes, plants, and other shrubbery, fairly standard there. So yeah, one of those concretes is really kind of animal mud. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of altitude. Gonna get a lay of the land here. You can see the map has a fair bit of kind of rolling hills. You can see all of these cuttable hedges separating the fields out. If you were to want to merge the fields, you would need to get rid of those hedges, either individually or by cutting down the hedge post, if you will. We have a fairly large area here if we do want to get rid of these buildings, or again, in all the other play modes, the farms are completely unbuilt. So then you would have an area that you really could, in multiplayer, have 5 distinct areas where people could build out their own farms and then kind of do their own little thing. So in the little town just south of the main starting farm, we've got some residential areas. We've got a grocery store sell point. We have a lime silo, as well as our workshop or vehicle shop. And this is going to be the post that we're going to cut down to get rid of all these cuttable hedges. But we're going to do that here in a little bit after kind of the aerial tour. Let's head down here to 55 because I wanted to buy farmland 55. I wanted to show you the couple of the buildings that for whatever reason you cannot sell. So I think the farmland ID is misassigned in the XML. Not a giant problem. I'm kind of struggling with if I make then the Can the Farms be customized lower score as a result. But ultimately, if you buy all of the entirety of the map, you can sell those buildings. So clearly, you can sell the buildings. You just need to own some other piece of land, which at this point is a little bit of a mystery. So let me go ahead and buy Farmland 55. And now that we have Farmland 55, I wanted to demonstrate that the 2 buildings that you can't sell are located right here. So we have shelter with back wall, right? The cell's not coming up. But here we have another shelter with back wall we can sell. So it's this one located right here. And then it's also this one over here. Shelter with back wall. All the other buildings we can sell by owning Farmland 55. But if we go ahead and buy all of the farmlands, then I'll demonstrate that we can sell those. So they are sellable, they're just assigned to the wrong farmland at this current juncture. And as you can see, we now own all of the farmlands, okay? And then if we come in here into build mode, these same 2 buildings we can now sell. Okay? So I'm a little torn. Do I take a 1/4 point off because they're not sellable, because they're not tied to the right land ownership? Or do we give the map a little bit of a pass and give it a full point there because ultimately we can't sell them? They're just not quite assigned properly. I think I'm going to probably take a 1/4 point off because expecting the player to buy all the fields to get rid of those 2 is a little much. But also in Farm Manager and start from scratch, those 2 buildings as well as every other building on this farm and every other farm is gone anyway. So to some degree, if you're going to get rid of those buildings, you may be already wanting to play in Farm Manager mode. So it's not that big of a deal. I'll let you all make the call as to what you want to do. So over here we do have, then we have horses at this farm. We have cows, we have sheep, we have chickens. We've got all of the animals here at Farmland ID 55. Then at the entrance to Farmland 55, we have our bakery. Now, speaking of productions, this map has 12 productions built in. We have a BGA, sawmill, oil mill, carpentry, grain mill, tailor, cereal factory. We have a dairy. We have a bakery, which we just saw. Grape processing, sugar, spinnery. Here we have our fuel point. We have our tailor. We have our grape processing facility. And now we are making our way kind of back up the road. So let's go ahead and swing down to the south once again, to the farm that is just north of Farmland ID 50. or should I say field 50. Remember, during this tour, let's go ahead and kind of observe how these cuttable hedges are, because we are going to be cutting those down here in a little bit. So here we have another farm, and this particular farm is going to be cows, sheep, and chickens. And just across the road, we then have some more residential. We have our spinnery, our sugar mill, and then way down here in the southeast corner, we have our cereal factory and our oil mill. So they're going to be located right there. You can see the way this has been set up. Kind of the industrial area kind of extends beyond the map boundary. Again, to kind of give the map a little bit of sense of depth. Coming up the western edge of the map, or I should say the eastern edge of the map, you see how we have the land really falling away here. Like I said, lots of rolling hills. You're going to want to make sure that you have plenty of horsepower for your farming implements on the map to overcome the grade. So over here we have pigs, cows, horses, and chickens at this farm. We have our BGA. I did buy the BGA in testing. I was able to sell the BGA as well as able to sell the shed behind the biogas plant. So this would be a perfect area. Maybe you bought this and you made this into a 6th farm if you had 6 players interested in a multiplayer, or if you had someone interested in building out a BGA, they could buy this area, they could sell the existing BGA, put down pumps and hoses, or some other form of modular BGA. We've got our farmers market sell point right across the street from there. And then in the extreme northeast corner of the map, we have a cow and chicken farm. Coming across the northern edge of the map at this point, here we have our animal dealer and bale sell point. And then just past this tree line, we're going to find that we've got some more items of interest. Specifically our grain mill. We have our carpentry below. And we've made our way kind of completely circle on the map. And we're back to our vehicle shop. So at this point, I want to demonstrate getting rid of this spotlight, which is still going to then cause all of those hedges removed. Now remember, you're going to have to buy the land here at the shop in order to cut this down. So when we do that, right now we have just a wood post, and let's take to the land again. And now take a look. All right. Let me know down in the comments below how many of you are going to play this way and how many of you are going to play with the cuttable hedges in place. Let's go ahead and get our Mahindra. You see we've got a pretty decent area here for our vehicles to spawn in at. I mean, overall, we've got some okay sized fields. I would say that I would probably size this map with medium machinery, probably 6 meters, 7 meters, 8 meters at the absolute most would probably be kind of ideal for this map. Now, if you were looking for a little bit of a longer gameplay, then of course you could play with some smaller machinery there. We do have a forklift down here at the shop that we can make use of. Then around the back, we have our lime buy point, a bulk lime buy point. Then we have a dealer trigger right there. Now, from our vehicle shop here, we're going to go ahead and make our way across the street. And this is where we're going to find our grocery sell point. So we have our dump markers right there. And then a little further down the road, we're going to find an entrance to our starting farm. Now, if you take a look at the PDA, you're going to see that the road network is really kind of 3 main roads. And as such, right, I think this map is going to feel a lot bigger than it really is. This is just a standard size map. I think it's going to feel like it's a lot bigger to a lot of players because if you're going to stay on these main roads, there's a whole lot of doubling back that you're going to do. So, for example, if you're, if you want to sell something down here at the oil mill, and you're over here in the northeast farm between fields 1 and 8, right? You're going to have to come all the way over to the west to field 23, come all the way down south, and then make your way all the way back east in order to get there, unless there is a dirt road. Now, looking at the PDA, there may be a dirt road there because we do have to have an entrance to that one farm that's beside field 78. Now, we're going to go ahead and make our way around the south, to the south. We're going to run down the bottom of the western side of the map, then make our way across, and then see if we can cut to the north. But here you can just look and see at what the fields look like when you have your cuttable hedges gone. And it really does completely change the look of the map. So I think this map is going to appeal to a whole lot of players. It's going to appeal to the players that want to struggle, like to have hedges, like to have collisions, kind of the typical UK Irish style map. And then I think it's also going to appeal to the players that don't want any of that. They can cut the post, they can get rid of it, they can merge their fields together, they can make massive fields, because a lot of these fields you can easily put together and not have a whole bunch of trees or anything you have to cut down. Here we have a great processing center, our pallet spawn point, interactive icon, our dump point around the back. Across the street from that, we have our tailor for our clothing. This standard base game, really don't need to take a closer look at that. We do have our fuel point. And then just down the street from that, we have our dairy. So we have our dump point marked there. The building is kind of positioned backwards because here we have our front door on the back with our interactive icon. Now, what we are missing here is we're missing where our pallet markers are going to be located. So that will ultimately play into our score a little bit. But speaking of that, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our scoring metrics and this map. I think I've already mentioned we are going to be giving the map a full point with respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such. We have 12 base game production items pre-placed on the map. So we have a full point there. Here we have our bakery. So we have our interactive icons front door, our dump point and pallet spawn point with markers here around the back. This is an entrance into the farm at the southwest corner of the map. And as I mentioned earlier, all the farms have the same farmhouse. So you see the farmhouse over here on the right. And I'm just going to park the Mahindra here. So we have our chicken coop. We're good for 1,000 chickens here. We have our egg point. We have our food point. Here we have our pig area. Kind of an open ground pig pasture. 100 pigs available in here. Then we have our water. We have our food. And there you go. These pigs are not set up to produce slurry or manure. If you do want that, you're going to have to put down your manure point or a slurry storage point. We've got our farm silo located right there. You can see off in the distance we do have a pull-through silage bunker. Additional storage sheds. The one over here to the left is the one shed I mentioned that we can't sell if we own this farmland, but there is a mystery farmland somewhere. And I did notice earlier, if you zoom way in here and you go to the lands right there, you can click on it. It's the roads. It's the roads. $1.2 million farmland ID 1. So I think this building and this other building over here that we couldn't sell, I think they are in the XML associated with farmland ID 1, as opposed to really needing to be associated with farmland ID 55. So Cavalier Roy, he would know. Maybe he'll comment below. I'm sure we will see a game map update very soon to correct that issue. Then we have an open cow pasture, 1,000 cows, water and food alike. Bale storage. We have our liquid storage and our solid fertilizer storage tanks. We have our sheep area. So we have our pallets, we have our food. And then we have 2,000 sheep in this building. And then this is the building I demonstrated that we could sell if we owned all the farmland. And then we have a small horse pasture, 16 horses here, water and food. So that is this farm. Oh, there's our diesel. I'm going to mention it again. If you start in farm management or start from scratch, all the farms are barren of all buildings, all animal areas, everything. If you wanted to do a multiplayer with 5 or so players, and they all wanted to have their own buildable area, they all wanted to build their own farm out, this map would be perfect. Absolutely perfect for them, because in farm manager mode, that is exactly how things are set up. So down here in the southwest corner, we have our sawmill. We also have a biomass heating plant to sell wood and wood chips, and we have our stone crusher to sell our stones. So we have our plank spawn point, interactive icon. We have our fill point for wood chips. Then we have our wood cell point here with our wood cell trigger. Let's do a little in-cab driving as we make our way down the southern part of the map. We could have a little mini game and count how many times I drive on the wrong side of the road. Tell you what, this really does give you a frame of reference on the differences of terrain height. As I mentioned earlier, you're probably going to want to have some pretty good horsepower on your vehicles compared to the horsepower rating of the implements because of the rolling hills here on the map. So the third player farm that we're going to visit is over here on our left. But before we get to that one, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the spinnery here on the right. It is a base beam spinnery building. So we have our interactive icon, and then around the back at the loading dock area, we have our dump point and pallet spawn point. Now the entrance to this farm is just past these houses here, just past the tree line, and right before you get to the sugar mill. So we have our farmhouse. We have a 3-sided bunker. We have some storage buildings. We have a mineral feed and seed storage silo. We have our main crop silo. We have our chicken coop. 1,000 chickens are going to be held in here. We have our egg point. We have our food points. We have a diesel point there. Pallet and bale storage. Liquid fertilizer storage. We have our slurry point for our cows. Now this is going to be just kind of the traditional large cow building, not with feeding robot. So we have our straw and food trough. And 2,000 cows in here as well. We have our milk point. We have our sheep area. So we have our wool, our food, our delivery point. And again, 2,000 sheep here. We have our liquid fertilizer storage. Our manure heap for our cows, and there you go. Let's make our way over here to the sugar mill. So we have our dump point around the front, pallet spawn point, and interactive icon here at the back. Kind of looking across the way. All the way down here in the extreme southeast corner, we have our cereal factory. We have our oil mill. And as I mentioned during the flyover, yeah, the way all of these buildings are beyond the map boundary really makes this feel like it is a large industrial area. So we have our oil mill, our interactive icon, our dump point and pallet spawn point, and our cereal factory as well. Dump point, interactive icon, and pallet spawn area. I think we're going to be able to take this dirt road all the way up to meet up with the main road that's in the north. Oh, take a look at that. Castle way off in the distance up on the hill there. That is way, way outside the playable boundary. That is really well done. Really gives you that sense of depth on this map. The sense that the area is so much larger than it really is. Man, that's just awesome out there. So over here on our left, we have kind of the fourth player farm that we're going to take a look at. This Parker here. We have our cow area. 2,000 cows yet again. We have our milk. Right. We have our food. We have our straw. Now this building does have the feeding robot attached to it. We have our liquid fertilizer storage. We have our fuel storage. We have our bale and pallet storage building. We have our slurry for our pigs over there. And we have a silo for mineral feed and seed. We have our crop silo. There we have the feeding robot portion. Our farmhouse. Our manure heap. And that should probably pick up the cows and the pigs. We have our food point for the pigs. 2,000 pigs in here. There we have our liquid fertilizer storage. Food. Then we have our chickens, our egg point. 1,000 chickens there. And then we have these buildings. We have a horse area. 16 horses. Food, water. Slurry point for our cows. So with respect to the farms being customizable, as I mentioned, I think this is a perfect map for multiplayer because of the fact that you do have the ability to have 5 completely blank buildable areas, or you have in New Farmer all the farms built out and you can still sell most things. We are going to give the map just 75% of a point, 3/4 of a point, if you will, because of those 2 sheds. I think they're tied to Farmland ID 1. Really, they need to be tied to Farmland ID 55. No doubt Cavalier Roy will be updating the map soon to correct that little oversight. Then we have our Farmers Market sell point. Then our BGA. And as I mentioned, we can sell the shed behind the BGA, and we can also sell the BGA here itself to make this entire area nice and clear. Now, I will give you a little bit of a hint. Before you sell the BGA, there's a game cartridge up there somewhere. You want to go find it and buy that, because if you sell the BGA, the game cartridge is going to stay there. It's going to be floating, and it may be difficult to kind of retrieve. Now, the farm in the extreme northeast corner, it has a pretty long lane, right? Pretty long lane in order to get up to here. I think we could have maybe had a little bit of a shortcut over by the biogas plant. Still, I mean, that over there just really, it's way outside the map boundary. I mean, it just looks really well done. Superb job, really superb job. Buildings where appropriate are using the new texture technique for the most part. All of these custom kind of, I guess we call them grain walled farm buildings, they're all using an older, flatter texturing technique. So we are going to take a little bit of point off there. The rest of the buildings on the map are all using the good stuff from FS22. So another 3/4 of a point there. There we are. So we have our silo. Lots of storage buildings. We have our solid and liquid fertilizer storage silos to our right. We have a fuel point. We have our farmhouse. We have another 1,000 chicken coop. Food, eggs. This particular farm also has cows here somewhere. We have our food. We have our mineral feed and feed silo. We have our bale and pallet storage. We have a 3-sided bunker. Then we have an open 2,000 cow pasture. I think it's 2,000 cows. We have a milk point, water and food. 1,000 cows in here, sorry. Should have known better from the build mode segment. Let's make our way over to the animal dealer, which is just north of field 19. Looking at the PDA, I'm pretty sure we can get to there from here without going all the way back to the main road. just can't get over how different the map looks with all of those hedges cut down. There you have the animal dealer, as well as a bale sell point. Now the description said that there were AI courses on the main dirt roads. So I think like this dirt road would be considered a main dirt road. So you could probably send helpers off to come over here. We have our bale sell point, a silage grass and such. And then we have our animal dealer trigger back here. Really nice complex. Kind of wish we had animated animals. Really. We're not taking any points off, but kind of wish we had those bad boys. Let's make our way over. We have 2 more points of interest. And then we're going to wrap this whole kitty up. Again, map number 750. I'm really proud of that accomplishment. It is a long time coming. We started doing map tours in 2017. 6 long years to get to 750. Are we going to get to 1,000? Sure. It'll probably be after the next farm sim drops, but yeah, we'll get to 1,000. So here we have our grain mill, dump point, interactive point, and pallet point. Sometimes it's fun. You can go back. I've got the FS17 playlist for map videos, FS19 playlist for map videos. Go back, check out some of those from the previous games. See how we have kind of progressed with our technique through the years. And then we round it all out here with our carpentry. Interactive point, dump point, wood cell trigger, and pallet spawn point. So guys, that's going to give, I'm going to say, player interactive areas being clearly marked, another 3/4 of a point. We were missing those darn markers over at the dairy. Dang it. I mean, look at that. That looks so great. And there's our starting farm over there. So that's going to give this map 4.25 out of 5. Very, very little niggles. Really knocking this thing down from a 5.0. I think, you know, if we weren't so picky, it's definitely a 5.0. I think this is a map that is going to be a winner chicken dinner. Let me know your all thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, happy farming.